Today I'm going to touch on agility. So we're going to go over the difference between agility and speed because that often they're put into the same bubble and it's just wrong. They shouldn't be in the same bubble. They're two different concepts. So I'll start off by going through the definition of each and the variables, and then I'll go into some case studies or scenarios. But first things first, I will not be talking about how to train agility. I think that is going to be quite hard to do on a PowerPoint in front of a camera in a small room, so that will be for another day. So, why do people get agility so wrong? That's my main question, because people usually put agility and speed in one bracket, but agility does not equate speed, so they are not the same. So the best thing to do is to start off by defining speed. So speed can be broken into two categories. Linear, how fast can you travel from point A to point B? So that's your 100 meter sprint, your 50 meter sprint, things like that, where it's just from one point to the next. How fast are you over that amount of space? The next one is multi-directional. So this includes your change of direction, change of pace, and ability to accelerate multiple times. Your shuttle runs, your suicides, your T runs, 5, 10, 5s, different things like that, where you're changing direction, changing pace, you're accelerating, deaccelerating more than one occasion. So multi-directional speed is so often mistaken for agility. I've often seen managers or trainers or coaches or whatever throw up different cones and go through an agility circuit where they are basically putting people through a certain distance or through a certain scenario. So first of all, where it can't be agility is where the coach says, okay, you are starting at point B, you're running to point A to C, back to B, back to A. So you know exactly where you're going. So you know, okay, I've got to accelerate, deaccelerate, turn, reverse, change pace, blah, blah, blah. You know exactly what you're doing. Therefore, it's not agility, it's multi-directional speed. So first, before I go into agility, we may as well talk about how to train speed. I've gone over this before, but I'm going to go over it again. So sprint and race, increase your velocity. So there's 3 points in there. The first is, if you want to get faster, you're going to have to run faster. So you're going to have to practice running fast. So sprint is number one. You would be surprised the amount of people who ask me what can they do in the gym to get faster or to get a better 100 meter time or 50 meter time. And I always come back to them with the same question. What's your training look like, and are you sprinting? And so much more often than not, they're not sprinting. So when you look at the training principles, number one, specificity. In order to get better at something, you must do more of the something, and that is sprinting. So if you want to get a better sprint, you got to sprint. Race, I have race in there because I think if you want to get faster, sprinting's great. If you want to really get faster, race people. That little bit of competitiveness will push you and will help you strive faster. We all know when we're doing sprints on our own versus at training against people, we know which place we usually compete or usually produce a better time at. So increased velocity. This can be done in many different areas, from the gym to the pitch to plyometrics, to strength work, to working on speed strength, to working on the velocity or ballistic side of the force velocity curve. So that's basically your speed training. I'm just going to put that all into one. Then get relatively strong. So increase force. Force is just another word for weight, really. So increasing your strength at certain movements, increasing the amount of reps you can do at a certain weight, increasing the amount of reps you can do at your body weight, increasing your relative strength. So that is your strength relative to your body weight. If I got two guys beside each other, one is 70 kg and the other is 90 kg, and the 70 kg guy can squat 140 at a very good pace, or can at least squat 140, and the guy who's 90 kg can squat 145. It's more impressive that 70 kg guy can squat 140 because that's double his body weight, whereas 90 kg, double their body weight, is going to be 180 kg and their squat's 145. So even though it's heavier than the lighter guy, that lighter guy is relatively stronger. So get as relatively strong as you can. And then, of course, there's the concept of power. So this is one of the most basic things. It's just power equals force by velocity. So power equals the amount of weight by the speed you can push it at. Again, take two guys, person A, person B. They're pretty much identical in every way. They're twins. Their weight's the same. Genetics the same. Everything. They're the same. They both put 100 kg on the trap bar, and it takes person A to get that bar up or to stand it up in 3 seconds, 2 to 3 seconds. It takes person B 5 to 6 seconds. You can already see person A's rate of force development is much greater than that of person B's, so their power is greater. Again, this is something I'm going to touch on in its own slide, but just touching on it now. So the more force you can exert into the ground means the more force the ground exerts back. So take two similar men, compare lifts, seeing who can develop force in less time. That's usually a good way of seeing, or a linear sprint is a good way of seeing who can develop more force. So training speed. So putting genetics aside, obviously, look, if you're type 2 dominant, that's going to play a huge role. Your genetics play a massive role, but I'm going to look at 5 things that you can control or at least influence. So your technique, efficiency in mechanics, the way you run. I don't believe, for distance running, I don't believe there is a wrong way to run. I believe there are better ways to run, but I don't think there's any wrong way to run. People run differently. People run weird. I know people who run very weird, who are very fast. But over these short sprints, technique can play a huge role. The way your body is facing, your posture, your positioning, your stride length, everything like that, your knee drive, you're pushing off the ground. So technique is important when it comes to training speed. Anaerobic system efficiency, so that ability to turn on, that ability to go 0 to 100 really quick. You got to train that. Your anaerobic system has to be trained to become efficient at that. Obviously, again, I'm not looking at or taking genetics into account. Even if you have brilliant genetics for short sprints, it can still be trained to be that bit sharper. So that's important to know as well. And that can be done 101 different ways. Muscle and tendon tension. So again, when you are building strength or going through some hypertrophy work or just getting fitter in the gym or whatever, your muscles obviously are affected positively, but your tendons and ligaments are hugely influenced there as well. So the tension and the tendon tension is improved when you're getting stronger. Your ligaments are getting thicker, things are getting, your bone density, everything is aiming towards being more durable. So that's important too. Explosive strength and power. This is a very vague blanket statement, but like I said before, your rate of force of development, so your power, your ability to exert force in short amounts of time, that's important. So that can be trained too. And your body composition. So obviously, if you're carrying excess fat that is not bleeding into your productivity or bleeding into your performance, then it might be an idea to cut some of that excess fat down. Your fat cells, your muscle cells contract, your fat cells don't. They're not that useful to you. If you have an excess amount, of course, having some body fat is going to be extremely useful to you, especially in an endurance sport like GAA. But if you're carrying excess fat, it's not going to be useful to you, and that's something you can control. So to define agility now, there's lots of definitions of agility. Some of them are a bit more vague or a bit more rounded than others, but I found one from Professor Ian Jeffries, who is, I believe he's a professor at Setanta College now. But this is a very good definition when it comes to agility in GAA. So it's context-specific movement where an athlete maximizes their sport-specific movement to optimal velocity, precision, efficiency, and control in anticipation of and in response to key exceptional stimuli and skill requirement of the game. So you probably want that in English, and that's what we're going to look at next. So in terms of GAA, it's your ability to assess the environment, process incoming information, make appropriate decisions based off that information, and then react with appropriate speed, accuracy, and skill. So what's important there is, and this is why this is where agility and speed differ. This says it's to react with appropriate speed, accuracy, and skill. So you see here, if you look at this, it's sport-specific movement with optimal velocity. So that does not always mean greatest velocity. So we all know someone who, everyone look at their own club team now. We all know someone who isn't going to be winning a lot of their sprints. They might be mid-table on the sprints or mid-table on the runs, but when it comes to game scenarios or match scenarios or on the pitch tackling or on the pitch drills, they're extremely efficient. They're very agile. They're able to read the game. They're able to time their movements. It's not all about being very speedy from A to B. It's about being able to assess everything that's happening outside and being able to read the game. So agility isn't just moving around like a small little obstacle course. that your coach has set up with cones. Agility is so much more. Agility is you being a corner back. Agility is you in the middle of a game. You're on someone who's on their right side, loves to kick with their left foot. You've taken that into account, your goal side of your man. The ball is out on the outside. You can see it drifting over the far side of the pitch. He's a right footer. You know he likes to come across with the ball, a long ball across. How do you defend that? What do you do? Where do you read the game? When you leave your mark, is it safe inside near the goals? Do you need to prioritise? So being agile is extremely, extremely different to just being fast or being able to get from point A to point B to C to D or running through these little obstacle courses. Being agile is able to read everything, process the information, make a decision, and act on that decision or react to someone else's decision. So in agility, decision making plays a big part. It's not just all about speed. So your ability to process information and make decisions is going to be just as important to you as speed in GA. Obviously, I would be a big believer in working on your speed, be it linear, multi-directional, be it over short distances, long distances. If you can keep everything relatively good, then your agility can be worked on as well on top of that. But don't just depend on speed. You need to be put into these kind of scenarios as well. A question did come in, so I put up a post, just to veer off a little bit at the end. I put up a post on this before, and someone actually wrote to me and saying, how do I train agility? I'm alone. We're in lockdown. And I actually didn't have an answer for them. It's very easy when you're at training or when there's a 10-on-10 game and you're forced to use your agility to move in different directions, to make decisions and read the game. When you're on your own, that's actually something that I find quite difficult as well. I believe agility falls into other things. So decision making, it falls into choices you make, maybe some mind games you can play, things like that. Chess, I don't know. I haven't looked into it enough. It's definitely something I need to look into as training on your own. When it comes to GA, I'm unsure how to train agility on your own. I had heard someone say about smashing a ball off a wall and reacting to that, or setting up different things. That there's a beeper on your phone, and if it beeps once, it means a certain code. If it beeps twice, there's apps you can get that call out different beeps. But still, even at that, that's multi-directional. If a beep goes twice, you know it's yellow. You just hear it twice, you go and come back. It's not really agility. So again, this is something I'm going to have to come back to. I hope to eventually do a video where I run through scenarios where you can train agility. It's just something I have to look into, and for me to say I know how to do it now would be a lie. So I hope that this has cleared some things up. I know it's different to my usual videos where I'm just going to kind of take something very simple and jump into it. I'm not going to always do a video like this where there's no studies or anything involved or no sure thing involved. A lot of this is opinion based, and a lot of this is my reading of the word agility, taken from other people's as well, obviously. But yeah, if you have any questions, I'm going to leave my link below, and you can contact me on Instagram at Complex Fitness. Thank you.